the next part of this exercise in the very end of chapter 7 here is to introduce a concept where we copy monitor elements. So these are pieces of linked files that alert the link that the original file has been changed and that they no longer match the conditions. So this is super important when you're thinking about trying to create a condition where the various components of a confederated model are altering by different parties at all times. So in the old days you would have to make phone calls every time you change something, or send an email, or have a meeting, and now the models, because they're so sophisticated, would require so much coordination that the model itself is now tracking that coordination for you. So let's take a look at how this works. I'm going to open up the file that is in the unit there. It's called commercial structure, and when we open that up it's going to have to upgrade, so I'm going to let that happen. While we're waiting on that, it's worth noting here the chapter is going to have us start with this file so that all of the templates are in the right place, and all the different ways the model will be organized will be consistent with the way that a file would normally be organized. When we made the link prior to this, it took the information, the modeled elements, and put them in a new file, but it didn't have all of the levels, it didn't have all of the different templates in place. And so we're going to start with the template here, and what we see is there's nothing in this template except one level and one section mark. We can go to 3D and take a look at this, and we can see there's really very little in this model, right? In fact, you don't even have a level indicated in the 3D view because there's no objects drawn in this model. So first step is for me to link in the commercial building file, and you'll recall the commercial building file has a file called structure in it. This is called the commercial structure, so it's a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Insert, Revit link, and I'm going to get the one that was called the commercial file. Alright, this is the same one that now has the site link to it. When we bring it in, it's going to leave that site behind because it was set to an overlay. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And so what we see here is, here's our entire building. Now it came in as one giant link. Okay, and if we look inside there, you can see there's a column inside there, but that's part of the link. It's not a separate piece yet. Okay, and this file doesn't have any of the structural elements in it either, because remember we ripped those out to create a new file called structure. So they're not part of this file. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to link in some of the elements from the commercial building, and we're going to create these monitored links. And so let's start with that. We're going to start with the south elevation, and let's go ahead and open that up, south elevation. And what I want to do first is copy monitor the levels, so all those levels will become part of this current drawing. So come up here to the Collaborate tab, click the Copy Monitor button, say Select Link. I'm going to pick the link. Easy to do, it's the only thing here. And then I'm going to say Copy. Now you're going to notice at the end of this command I hit a Finish button. There's two Finish buttons, one here in the Options bar and one up here in the Toolbar. So first thing I'm going to do is hit Copy. I'm going to say Multiple, and I'm going to select those levels. Just cross over and grab those 5 levels. Level 1, 2, 3, 4, and roof. And then I finish that selection set. I'm still going to be in the Copy Monitor command. I'm just finishing selecting those objects. And when I do that, you can see it brought them in. Now these are individual objects. They're not part of the link anymore, and also they're being monitored. They get this little heartbeat monitor thing on here. So the next step here would be to get the grid lines, the columns, and the structural walls that are here in the background. And I need to bring those in and copy monitor those also. I don't have any floor plan views yet, so the first thing I need to do is create some views. I'm going to finish this this command. I'm still copy monitoring. I'm going to finish it. Then I'm going to click on view, and I'm going to come over here to say, you know what, I need some plan views. I need structural plan views because this is a structural drawing. It says, well, which levels do you want to make them out of? And I'm going to select all of these levels here, and I'm going to say, okay, make some structural views. Over here in my project browser now, I've got structural views, levels 1 through roof. And I'm going to go ahead and go to level 1. Here's my level 1 structural view. And I'm going to go and copy monitor some more items. I'm going to get the grid lines, I'm going to get the steel columns, and I'm going to get the structural walls. So collaborate tab. I'm going to start the copy monitor command. I'm going to say select a link. There's only one thing on the screen. I get that. And now I'm going to copy multiple items. Let's start with the grid lines. I'm going to get the grid lines, and I'm going to say finish that set. And those grid lines, now the vertical grid lines, have the little heartbeat monitor. I'm going to go ahead and get the grid lines that I'm going to say copy again. I'm going to say multiple again. I'm going to pick these 3 grid lines, and I'm also going to pick the number 1 grid line, and I'm going to say finish that set. And now you see that one, I must have let go of the others because I didn't click multiple. So I'm going to go ahead and say copy again, multiple this time. I'm going to go ahead and get these, and I'm going to say finish that set, and those 3 are now also being monitored. And then I'll sweep over the whole model. Oops, I need to start it again. Copy. I'm going to say multiple. I'll sweep over the whole model. And what am I going to do? I'm going to filter so that I only get the columns. I can say I'll take the structural columns. I'm not going to take any of the walls yet. And I take apply, okay, and then I finish that set. And all the columns now are being monitored. And then finally, I'm going to sweep over this little set back here. Whoops, I need to start the command again. Copy, multiple, and I'm going to sweep over this little set back here. The only walls I have selected are structural walls, so I can filter just for the walls, and I can say apply that. If I click columns, I'm going to get the architectural columns. I do not want those. That's not part of the structural concern. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply. I'm going to say OK, and then when I click finish, 4 new items have been created. Now look what happened. Somehow I got a door. That door is being monitored. I'm going to say stop monitoring the door. I don't need to monitor that. Okay, so now I've got all those items monitored. And I can click finish. I'm done with the copy monitor command. The next thing I want to do here is create an insertion of the structural elements. So you'll recall that in the last lesson I took the different framing plans, or the frames for each of the levels. I made a group out of them, and I took that group and I ripped it out of the drawing, made a new file called structure, and then I linked that file to my commercial drawing. So when I go look at my section, and somehow this section mark got moved, I must have done that. I'm going to move it back up, and I'm going to go look at that section. I can see there are no beams in this file. I've got columns and I've got floors, but I don't have the beams. So what I need to do is bring in a copy of that structure file into this file, and then I will bind it into this file. So here we go. I'm going to say go to the Insert tab. I'm going to first load the family, the group. And I need to go browse to it. In my case, it's in a folder on my desktop. Here it is, called structure. And when I load that in, it's going to give me some messages here that some of the materials are being duplicated, and so what is it going to do with those? I'm just going to kind of breeze through that. And now it's loaded. Another message down here. That's okay. I don't worry about that. Not right now. And now it's loaded, but it hasn't yet been inserted. It's just available for me to insert. So to insert it, I'm going to come down. There's different ways I could do this. I'm going to follow what the book says because I think it's a pretty neat trick. I'm going to come down here to the bottom. Let me minimize some of these things. I'll minimize my views for a moment. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say from the groups menu, the models menu, here it is, it's called structure. That's the one I just loaded. And I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to say create an instance of this group. Now it's going to ask me for a placement. It says, where do you want to place this? And you'll see it's going to kind of be like, where do you want to go? Following my mouse around. I'm just going to type the number 0, enter, and it's going to come in right at the shared origin. And so now you can see, hey, there's my beams. And I'm going to click finish on that. And it inserts that entire set. And there it is. You can see the whole set is now inserted in the drawing. So that's working pretty well. And I'm ready to save this drawing. I'm pretty much done with it. I don't need to do anything else with this drawing for quite a while. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. And it saves, and then I can close this file. I need to know where it saved it, so make sure you pay attention where. But after you've finished with it, you can close it up. Go back into your commercial file now. Alright, so here's my commercial file. Now, in this case, the structure that's been inserted here as a link, remember, only has that typical framing in it. And if we look at our link, go to Manage Links, you'll see it's referring to this file that we made called structure, and that file only has the beams in it. It doesn't have the columns, it doesn't have the other pieces, but it is in the right place. And so we're going to use that alignment, and what we're going to do is just reload that item. We're going to reload it from a new site, a new file, so we can update that information. We're going to reload it back to this file we just made called structure. And I need to go to the correct location for this. I think that will do it. And I click OK, or open, and then I click OK, and it will reload that information. You're going to see here it shows up. We can see there's some beams and stuff in this file, but the real place to really get a look at this is in section. And so we're going to go to the transverse section. What we can see here in the transverse section is we have those elements. The grid, for example, is part of the original file, but it's also part of the structural file. Now to select that structural file, I'm going to hover over a beam, or I can hover over a grid line and tab, and it'll select the grid that's part of the reference file. Either way, if I click a beam, I can see that the beam is part of this. All the beams are part of this group, and it says I've got one Revit link selected, and that Revit link includes all the information for the beams, the columns, and the grid lines, and the copy monitor, the copy monitor grid lines, as well as the copy monitored levels. And if I hit delete, you'll see very quickly all those pieces go away. Now I don't want to remove the link, so I'm going to click cancel to that little thing. But that's how this works. And so once we've done that, we have a file here that is all linked up and ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and save that file.